Folks, there is some brand new information that just dropped this past week, along with some new statistics that in a perfect world, everybody would already know and we would be talking about it. But because AI has taken control of the distraction game, nobody has seen it. Elon Musk came out and said a while back, with artificial intelligence, we're summoning the demon. Well, guess what? The demon's in charge now. And unless you have the ability to divorce your mind from emotions and think clearly, you're just going to be powerless. We're going to cover it in today's video. And believe me, when you're done, please go look for the information anywhere else. It's out there, but nobody's talking about it. And that's the crazy part. Now, as always, thank you, everyone who's joined us over at the Florimaki Patreon channel. I never want to be remiss in gratitude, because that's a biblical value. Thank you all of those people who have signed up the last week, last month, last 6 months, last year. There's 4 levels over there, 2, 5, 10, and 15 a month. I wish it were not necessary to have one, but with what's happened here at YouTube and in other platforms, it's just, there's no other way around it. And also in today's video here on YouTube, we're going to cover a Patriot Nurse video, her most recent one, that's absolutely blowing up like crazy, that talks tangentially about what's really going on behind the scenes. Meaning things are far worse than what the news would have you believe, which ties into my initial statement about AI demons keeping you distracted. Now, once again, I know it's tough everywhere, but if you have the ability and you would like to see the channel keep going, 4 levels, there's huge discounts, by the way, if you sign up for an entire year. And here's the best part. Everybody has things come up. 90 days, fully refundable. Middle of August, if I've done my math right here, May, June, July, yeah, be the middle to the end of August before you'd have to really decide, do I want my money back or not? You'd have that whole time to go over there, see the hundreds of videos that have never before seen on YouTube. Love to have you over there. Lots of folks over there. You'll hear about it down in the comment section. Let's get right to it. What's the big piece of information? Well, I'm sure people might have seen this in passing. Moody's, the last of the 3 big credit rating agencies, downgrades U.S. credit citing rising debt. Don't be surprised if tomorrow morning, Monday morning, you're going to see a huge collapse in the stock market. Now, a lot of people are like, well, Florimaki, I don't have stocks. I don't hardly have any money to live anymore. I'm barely getting by. The stock market has nothing to do with me. I get that. I totally get that. I've told people before, they say, Florimaki, when are you going to play guitar again? I sold a long time ago. Was forced to, by the way, sell all of my musical equipment. All of it. Don't even own a spare string. It's all gone. Every bit of it's gone. So I'm glad I was able to record what I did when I could, but it's gotten tight for everyone. It really, really has. And here's the real truth about the apocalypse. You ready for this? Everyone is going to have a different day one. See, all of the games and the movies and the TV series, it all happens to everybody at the same time. I don't think that's what's going on. Everybody is going to have their own different day one of their personal financial apocalypse. It's going to happen in waves. And great video from the Patriot Nurse, her most recent one, trip to the barber shop. And she was there with some members of her family, she says. And the barber was talking about how people are just either not getting haircuts anymore, or they're waiting months and months in between, where they used to maybe wait 3 weeks or a month. And it's kind of a canary in the coal mine kind of thing. That if people are down to the point where it's like, I can't even afford a haircut anymore. You know, these are the kind of things, these are the metrics that we need to use to measure, you know, where the economy is. Because we can't trust the news, the media. Because one day they'll say the stocks are up, next day the stocks are down, stocks are up, stocks are down, and this indicator and that indicator. This video by the Patriot Nurse is more honest and more accurate than any other indicator you could ever imagine. People just getting a haircut. They can't do it anymore. And she's actually been warned about this on her channel for quite a while. If you go back and look for the last probably year, different indicators and different models that show things are actually quite a bit worse than what they're stating. Now, I've been talking recently about a poll I did. It was last year, and I think I'm going to rerun the poll to see if the numbers are still the same. And I asked everyone, is personal financial sovereignty the ultimate form of morality? Meaning, in order to stay free, you need to have financial wherewithal to be able to stay in a home, to have a vehicle, so that you're not homeless and out and just subjected to, the wilds of the world, so to speak. And whatever you need to do, I promise you, I'm almost done with this cold. Whatever you need to do to maintain that money flow, you're going to do. That's no matter, how questionable what you have to do might be, the ultimate form of morality is personal financial sovereignty. And I talked about it in the context of another indicator that I've used. The meteoric rise and growth of this thing called OnlyFans, where girls go online in the privacy of their own home with a camera, and for $3 or $5 or $7 or $10 a month, they run around and take pictures in their underwear, mostly. And some people are like, well, there's no way I would ever do that. There's no way I would ever counsel anyone to do that, and you shouldn't talk about it. And like, okay, talking about it's one thing. It's not necessarily encouraging it, but to say that there's a choice between having a home and having the money from something like that to keep you from stringing a cable from a no parking sign to a tree by the side of the road, throwing a couple of tarps up and then popping a little tent behind it and then piling all your crap around it and saying, well, I'm going to live here now. Some might argue that might not be the most moral way of thinking about it either. But I talked about statistics and this idea of day one apocalypse. Everybody has their own day one. They get that eviction notice. They get that repossession notice. They get that court date for answering for that credit card that they didn't pay and all that kind of stuff. Wait until you read these numbers. It is staggering. 1.4 million women in America do OnlyFans. There are only about 2.7 million women in America who are unemployed. That means of more than half of unemployed women in America are doing OnlyFans. 1.2 million between the ages of 18 and 24. 10 million women total. 165 million men in America. 82 million of the 165 million are on OnlyFans, spending the money. And here's the absolute crazy part about this. 2020, people say, Florida Mucky, people don't make that much money. There's a difference between an average and a mean. You see, if you add in all the people that signed up for OnlyFans and then chickened out and didn't do anything with it, they're counting, when you say average, they count all those zeros. And then they also count all the people that are making tens of millions of dollars, like Black China and Cardi B and all those people. When you take away the top 1%, and then you get rid of all the zeros, and you do the mean average, the average income jumps from $338 a month, which for I think a lot of people would be a big deal. It jumps from $338 a month to $4,995 a month. That's the crazy part. This should be all you need to see. This is one of the most recognizable faces amongst folks who watch things like The Sopranos. She's made more money. Drea de Matteo. She paid off. She was getting ready to be kicked out of her house. She was getting ready to be foreclosed on. And she signed up, and in a matter of months, not only got out of arrears, but paid the whole damn thing off. It is unreal. And here's the best part. Ladies, I know a lot of ladies probably have already clicked off or they've kept scrolling or whatever. Here's the funny part. And guys, you need to laugh at yourself on this too. Because now what's happening is with the advent of AI, they're using chatbots over there. There are guys over there who think they are really talking to the girl who posted the pictures. But it's an AI chatbot. And the AI chatbot is getting guys to renew their subscriptions or up their subscriptions or whatever. And they're making thousands and thousands of dollars a month. So like I said, you have two groups of thought here. And I did another video talking about this. I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there, and hey, no disrespect. You say, I would rather go live in the woods and climb up in a tree and find some spare lumber and over a period of maybe a year build myself a little place way out in the middle of nowhere and just, live off maybe a little bit of solar and scrounge for grubs and berries just like the animals. I'd rather do that. Okay. Or maybe, built yourself some little floating safe space, for lack of a better term here, that, you could push out in the middle of a lake and sleep out there at night for safety. Or maybe just a cabin, something. Maybe a community gets together. And over a period of, decades, they build some forest community. It really is a very strange thing to counsel one way or the other, especially if you have kids. Because I guess nobody would want to raise their kids in a homeless situation. And raising kids out in the middle of the woods, not sure that's the greatest idea either. So I guess what I'm going to do is redo the poll and ask if anybody still believes about personal financial sovereignty. Then maybe there's a even more ultimate form of morality. But to leave this video, and by the way, go check out this video from Patriot Nurse. It really is a great discussion. But I'd like to ask a question, and we're going to talk about it more over at Patreon. Because I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there saying, Florida Bucky, don't you read the Bible? Don't you have any sense of decency? Or don't you read the Ten Commandments? Here's my issue with this. When it comes to thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, people are pretty rock solid on pointing to the Ten Commandments and saying, that's God's word. You don't do those things, and, you need to repent right away. Well, the Bible also says guilty in one point of the law, guilty in all points of the law. And then when I point to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, all of a sudden I get a speech about, well, we're not under the law anymore. We're under grace. Since Jesus, we're under grace. So we're not really held to the law. So we don't, you see, it's inconvenient to keep the Sabbath day holy for a lot of people. So they say, well, there's grace and there's the forgiveness and we're no longer held to the Ten Commandments unless it's thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not, all these. And then all of a sudden people change their minds. Because I talked about that too. Because we have a group of people living over in the villages in Florida that decided to be a little bit fast and loose with the adultery thing. And people love to condemn them. The whole loofah crowd over there, the upside down pineapple people. So I guess my question is, which is it? What we're really going to talk about over at the Patreon channel, and I'm not going to get too much into this, is something called fundamental attribution error. And it's a psychological dysphoria. And it happens when you live in an individualistic culture. People that think any amount of working together, any amount of coming together as a group for the betterment of all is evil, terrible, horrible socialism. Therefore, everyone just needs to rise or fall on their own. You get into these traps called false consensus effect and self-serving bias. For an example, when you get into a romance with someone and you've had a couple of good dates, you start to make all sorts of assumptions about that other person that just aren't true, based on the emotion of it. Or if you're in some type of a sports contest and you win, it's because of your hard work and you're awesome and you're just way better than everyone else. But if you lose, it was probably the coach or the weather or the other team was cheating or all this kind of stuff. And we see this a lot, and especially in Trump politics. Everything good that happens in Trump world is Trump's fault. Everything wonderful that happens, it's all about Mr. Trump. Anything bad, however, never attributed to him. Donald Trump never makes a mistake. He never goofs. He never does anything that's self-serving. And it's because there was a romance between Trump supporters and Donald Trump. They went on 2 or 3 dates with the guy, i.e. his rallies. They went on 2 or 3 dates with the guy. It was a group date. It was him and everybody else. And they had such a good time at those 2 or 3 dates that all of a sudden now they're just assuming everything else about the guy. So fundamental attribution error happens all the time. Artificial intelligence, we're summoning the demon, folks. We are summoning the demon because people aren't paying attention to stuff like this. But it's huge. So, love to have you on Patreon. God bless all of you who have. Pray on it. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Pray for each other. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.